Welcome to this grand tour through some of the most captivating and inventive theories regarding the legendary lost civilization of Atlantis. Today, we cast our spotlight solely on the persuasive and imaginative strengths that have propelled these ideas into the collective consciousness. Though each rests on different pillars of logic, geographical, geological, historical, and cultural, they share a certain scholarly allure. By weighing these theories side by side, we can appreciate the breadth and richness of the conversation about one of the world's most famous mysteries. We begin with the theory that leads us through the luminous art and intricate palaces of the Minoan civilization, which flourished on Crete and the nearby island of Thera, modern-day Santorini. The strength of the Minoan connection to Atlantis lies in the sheer wealth of archaeological evidence that defines this ancient culture as Europe's earliest complex civilization. Excavations at Knossos, Phaistos, and other palatial centers reveal advanced architecture, elaborate frescoes, and a sophisticated maritime trade network. This tangible cultural richness, reflected in art, metallurgy, and commerce, provides an undeniable historical anchor for an Atlantis-like society that thrived in splendid isolation before a sudden downfall. Another point of strength is the precisely documented natural catastrophe that befell the Minoans, the massive eruption of Thera, Santorini, around the mid-2 ND millennium BCE. Geological analysis of ash layers, pumice fallout, and tsunami deposits correlates with the timing of Minoan decline. This catastrophic event, one of prehistory's largest volcanic disruptions, offers a direct and scientifically verifiable parallel to the swift destruction of Atlantis described by Plato, lending credibility to the notion that this cultural memory could be rooted in actual disaster. Further reinforcing this link is the regional memory of the Minoans' influence and disappearance preserved in later Greek and Egyptian traditions. The Minoan presence was felt throughout the Aegean, and their sudden reduction in power likely left a resonating echo in the oral histories of nearby societies. These layered recollections could have evolved into the Atlantis story, blending factual elements of an advanced civilization, maritime skill, and violent end into a timeless legend that persisted into the classical era. Venturing west, we encounter Tartessos, a kingdom known to ancient authors for its wealth, skillful metalwork, and robust trade networks. The Tartessos theory finds strength in its well-established historical presence, as ancient texts from Greek and Roman authors describe a wealthy, literate, and metal-rich civilization located near the mouth of the Guadalquivir River. Archaeological findings of advanced metallurgy and early trade links, possibly with the Phoenicians, underscore the sophistication and prosperity of this culture. The aura of luxury and enigma surrounding Tartessos firmly aligns with Atlantis' depiction as a civilization famed for riches and refinement. Another compelling aspect is Tartessos' disappearance from the historical record. Despite its prominence, details about its final fate remain sparse, fueling speculation. This very absence mirrors the Atlantis narrative's emphasis on sudden vanishing acts. With the Pillars of Hercules often associated with the Strait of Gibraltar, the placement of Tartessos at the western edge of the known world would have seemed as exotic and legendary as Plato's Great Vanished Island, making its memory ripe for mythical adaptation. Finally, Tartessos' maritime character and connections to distant lands resonate strongly with the idea of Atlantis' broad naval influence. If it maintained extensive trade networks reaching into the Atlantic and possibly beyond, the notion of an Atlantic-facing cosmopolitan society fits neatly within Plato's vision. The known wealth, cultural complexity, and mysterious disappearance of Tartessos combine to produce an enduring allure, granting it a natural foothold as a candidate for Atlantis' historical inspiration. On the surface, envisioning Atlantis under miles of ice seems fantastical, yet this idea's strength comes from a surprisingly thought-provoking angle. Ancient maps, particularly the famed Piri Reis map, may hint at a once ice-free Antarctic coast. Proponents of the Antarctic Atlantis emphasize the continent's geological past, noting that it once experienced warmer climates capable of supporting vegetation and possibly human settlement. This perspective draws on paleoclimatic reconstructions to argue that Antarctica's ice-free epochs could have harbored advanced societies now locked beneath thick ice sheets, offering a grand and otherworldly backdrop for an Atlantis-like narrative. The concept stirs the imagination by blending known geological shifts with the possibility of forgotten cultures. The presence of ancient maps, such as the Piri Reis map, which some interpret as showing an ice-free Antarctic coastline, bolsters this theory's appeal. While the origin and accuracy of such cartographic anomalies continue to be debated, the suggestion that earlier civilizations understood and charted parts of Antarctica before modern discoveries is a powerful notion. This claim encourages the idea that human knowledge, exploration, and cultural development might be far older and more daring than conventionally believed. This scenario also capitalizes on the sheer mystique of Antarctica itself, an immense, remote, and largely unexplored frontier. The idea that an entire civilization could lie hidden, waiting for a shift in climate or technology to reveal its secrets, carries undeniable narrative force. Such a possibility, grounded in paleogeography, redefines the boundaries of ancient human endeavor and sets a stage of extraordinary scale and isolation for one of history's most enduring legends. Sundaland beckons us to consider a time when Ice Age sea levels were lower, revealing vast land masses now submerged beneath tropical seas. The Sundaland hypothesis gains strength from the well-documented changes in sea level at the end of the last ice age. During this period, vast areas of what are now submerged continental shelves formed extensive lowlands, river valleys, and coastlines suitable for human habitation. Paleo-environmental studies and archaeological research suggest that early humans thrived in these regions, potentially developing cultural complexities that parallel the sophistication implied in the Atlantis story. This theory resonates with the rich tapestry of Southeast Asian myths and folklore describing sunken lands and lost kingdoms. Oral traditions, literature, and even place names sometimes reference once-inhabited lands now underwater, providing cultural continuity that may hint at real collective memories. By linking these ancient narratives with post-glacial sea level rise, the Sundaland hypothesis unites environmental science, archaeology, and anthropology in a manner that strengthens its case. The genetic and linguistic diversity found in Southeast Asia also supports the notion of a deep, complex prehistory, one that could easily have included regions of concentrated development now lost beneath the waves. With each new underwater archaeological survey, evidence accumulates that coastal civilizations flourished long before written records. The Sundaland concept offers a framework in which the Atlantis legend can be seen as one variation of a global theme: advanced maritime cultures succumbing to the inexorable rise of the seas. The Caribbean has long enchanted explorers with its coral shelves and intriguing underwater formations. The waters off these coasts have offered curious structures that spark questions. Proponents of an Atlantis in the Caribbean point to geological formations like the Bimini Road, a series of underwater stone blocks that some interpret as remnants of ancient walls or roadways. While their origin remains debated, these formations prompt serious inquiry. If they are man-made, they imply an advanced coastal culture existing in the distant past. This tantalizing possibility provides a direct physical link to a story that often remains elusive and theoretical, enhancing the credibility of an Atlantic-based Atlantis. The Caribbean's intricate topography, which includes submerged plateaus and banks, could reflect dramatic changes in sea level and climate. Such environmental shifts might have led once thriving coastal settlements to become inundated, leaving only cryptic clues for future ages. This backdrop aligns with the Atlantis narrative of a civilization lost beneath the waves, transforming the region's underwater landscapes into a living laboratory where archaeology and geology can meet myth. Additionally, the Caribbean basin's strategic location between continents and its rich marine resources suggests that ancient peoples could have developed complex societies sustained by maritime trade and abundant natural wealth. If these cultures excelled in navigation, architecture, and societal organization, their sudden disappearance due to natural catastrophes or rising seas would echo Plato's account. Thus, the Caribbean hypothesis leverages physical underwater formations, environmental data, and plausible historical scenarios to strengthen its claim as an Atlantis candidate. The Azores are the visible peaks of a submarine mountain range on the mid-Atlantic ridge. For those who look exactly where Plato placed Atlantis, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, this idea has a natural, geologically grounded appeal. The idea of Atlantis residing on the mid-Atlantic ridge near the Azores draws directly from Plato's geographical hints, placing the legendary isle far beyond the Mediterranean. The Azores, as a volcanic archipelago, sit atop a submerged plateau that hints at a once larger landmass. Proponents argue that tectonic and volcanic activity over millennia might have led to dramatic environmental transformations, aligning with the myth of a once great island empire vanishing under the waves. This scenario benefits from rigorous geological research indicating that the mid-Atlantic ridge and surrounding regions have undergone substantial changes in sea level and volcanic activity. Such data provide a scientifically credible framework for the existence and subsequent loss of substantial landmasses in the Atlantic. If an advanced culture thrived in these elevated areas during a period of lower sea levels, its eventual disappearance would neatly parallel Atlantis's catastrophic end. The Azores theory also gains strength from its resonance with Mediterranean seafaring knowledge. Ancient sailors, venturing beyond the known world, would have returned with reports of strange islands and unsettled lands. Over countless retellings, these impressions could have evolved into grand narratives of a sunken civilization. The Azores hypothesis thus weaves together geological plausibility, geographical clues from Plato's text, and the timeless human penchant for maritime exploration to form a persuasive case. If we're drawn to the literal landscape clues in Plato's narrative, the Richat structure in Mauritania compels attention. This immense, perfectly circular geological formation surrounded by desert echoes, the concentric rings often ascribed to Atlantis. The Richat structure in Mauritania presents a striking visual parallel to Plato's descriptions of concentric canals and circular city layouts. This natural formation, with its distinctly ringed patterns, easily inspires the imagination to see in it the remains of a carefully planned civilization. Proponents of this theory emphasize how the structure's unique geologic design aligns elegantly with the geometric precision for which Atlantis was famed, suggesting a tangible anchor for the legend's architectural grandeur. Paleoclimatic studies confirm that the Sahara was once a green and fertile region, supporting wildlife, waterways, and human settlements. Millennia before the dunes, the area would have allowed for agriculture, commerce, and cultural development. In this light, the Richat structure becomes more than a geological curiosity. It transforms into a potential centerpiece for a prehistoric civilization's heartland, anchoring the Atlantis narrative in a now desolate but once vibrant landscape. Enduring local traditions as well as hints from ancient travelers may have preserved distant echoes of this earlier abundance. By connecting these cultural whispers with a striking geographic feature and the knowledge of dramatic environmental change, the Sahara hypothesis offers a compelling synthesis of legend and science. It stands as a model for how a once thriving, now lost civilization might have given birth to enduring myths of a vanished utopia. Sailing north, we discovered Doggerland, a once sprawling Mesolithic landscape that connected Britain to mainland Europe. Archaeologists have verified that this region, populated by hunter-gatherers, slowly vanished beneath rising seas about 6,000 years ago. Doggerland's documented existence as a once fertile land bridge between Britain and mainland Europe is its foremost strength. Archaeologists have recovered tools, bones, and other artifacts from this submerged region, proving that human communities hunted, gathered, and likely experimented with early forms of settlement before being overtaken by rising seas. Doggerland's historically verified inundation provides an exact parallel to the Atlantis narrative of a flourishing culture disappearing beneath the waves. As Ice Age glaciers melted, global sea levels rose, transforming Doggerland's lush plains into the North Sea. This event would have been nothing short of apocalyptic for the Mesolithic communities, forcing them to adapt, migrate, or vanish. Such a profound upheaval could easily have lingered in oral traditions, becoming a story of lost lands and drowned homelands. Over time, these tales might merge with or inspire grander legends like that of Atlantis. This hypothesis takes advantage of a robust body of paleo-environmental, archaeological, and sedimentary research. With each discovery, the reality of entire landscapes going under provides ever stronger support for the idea that Atlantis' memory could encode global episodes of coastal submergence. Doggerland, with its indisputable factual basis, thus emerges as a powerful candidate, reminding us that what we consider myth may be rooted in very real, if distant, historical transformations. The sudden inflow of Mediterranean waters into the Black Sea basin around 5,600 BCE is well supported by geological and marine research. Core samples, sediment layers, and submerged archaeological sites indicate a swift and dramatic shift from a freshwater lake to a saltwater sea. The strength of this scenario lies in the clarity of the geological event, providing a real cataclysmic flooding that could easily have inspired tales of lost civilizations. This flood would have displaced communities that had settled around the Black Sea's fertile shores, forcing people to abandon their homes and traditions abruptly. The trauma and astonishment of such a monumental disruption would likely have been preserved in oral histories and mythic narratives. Over time, these stories could have taken on grand proportions, depicting an advanced culture swept away by the ocean, a template that fits neatly with the Atlantis narrative. Underwater archaeology in the region has begun uncovering traces of ancient settlements and structures now well below the modern coastline. These findings confirm that human life thrived where today only waves roll. The combination of solid geological evidence, compelling archaeological discoveries, and the clear cultural shock of sudden flooding coalesce into a powerful argument. The Black Sea flood hypothesis thus offers a geographically and scientifically sound backdrop for an Atlantis-like catastrophe. Off India's coasts lie underwater sites featuring foundations that suggest organized settlements. Marine archaeological explorations off the coast of India have revealed submerged structures near Dwarka and in the Gulf of Khambat, resembling walls, platforms, and perhaps even evidence of planned civic layouts. These finds resonate beautifully with the Atlantis narrative of advanced urban centers lost to the sea. The presence of such potential ruins, documented by divers and sonar imaging, suggests that coastal societies might have achieved a remarkable level of complexity before succumbing to rising waters. Ancient Indian texts contain accounts of legendary cities that once stood at the edge of the ocean. Dwarka, often associated with the deity Krishna, is traditionally said to have sunk beneath the waves. This rich literary and mythic tradition pairs seamlessly with the marine archaeology, implying that local cultural memory preserves genuine recollections of drowned settlements. Such textual corroboration strengthens the notion that Atlantis-like events did occur, at least in this region's deep past. India's coastline has always been a hub for maritime trade and cultural exchange, and the submergence of thriving port towns would have carried repercussions far inland. Tales of vanished ports and sunken cities could have spread, transformed, and eventually converged with broader legends of drowned lands. The synergy of archaeological evidence, ancient literature, and the known dynamism of Indian maritime history lend a compelling solidity to the South Asian Atlantis hypothesis. By placing Atlantis in an Indian Ocean setting, it broadens our global lens and illustrates that the Atlantis tale can reflect universal human experiences of coastal loss and transformation. Here we take a wide-angle view. The idea that Atlantis represents not a single location but a widespread phenomenon gains strength from our understanding of Ice Age geography. During glacial periods, sea levels were much lower, exposing vast coastal plains that nurtured human communities. As temperatures warmed and ice melted, these once habitable landscapes disappeared beneath rising oceans, a known and globally documented event. This knowledge provides a universal framework for Atlantis-like stories to emerge independently around the world. Marine archaeology is increasingly revealing traces of Paleolithic and Neolithic sites on now submerged coastal shelves. Stone tools, hearths, and traces of ancient human activity found underwater prove that our ancestors lived along shorelines that no longer exist. Each discovery enriches the narrative that advanced coastal groups, skilled in fishing, navigation, and resource management, could have thrived and then vanished as the seas encroached. Instead of being unique, Atlantis becomes the archetype of countless lost worlds. Oral traditions and myths from numerous cultures reference floods, drowned lands, or vanished islands, hinting at a shared global memory of these cataclysmic transitions. The widespread nature of these stories strengthens the hypothesis that Atlantis reflects a deep-seated human experience rather than a localized event. Under this model, Atlantis symbolizes the collective trauma and cultural shifts that accompanied the end of the Ice Age, uniting geology, archaeology, and mythology into a powerful and enduring narrative. In East Asia, the Yonaguni underwater formations mesmerize divers and scholars alike. Whether natural or human-altered, they spark the imagination. The Yonaguni monument off the coast of Japan presents submerged structures that appear to exhibit terraces, steps, and geometric patterns. While their origins remain debated, their very existence provides a tantalizing basis for considering a lost maritime culture that might have shaped the coastline millennia ago. The distinctiveness and complexity of the formations are what lends this theory strength. They stand as visible, tangible prompts to ask whether human hands played a role in their design. If prehistoric peoples did indeed modify natural rock formations at Yonaguni, it suggests a capacity for stoneworking and urban planning that we rarely associate with such deep prehistory. This would align closely with the advanced engineering, architecture, and urban layout described in the Atlantis legend. The idea that a once flourishing society built structures now submerged by rising seas perfectly fits the global pattern of drowned Ice Age coastlines, making Yonaguni a compelling case study. Japan's long oral and written history, coupled with its maritime traditions, supports the notion of cultural continuity stretching back to periods of different sea levels. Myths and legends might preserve echoes of vanished coastal villages or even grand ceremonial centers lost to time and tide. The Yonaguni formations, combined with broader archaeological and cultural contexts, reinforce the possibility that Atlantis-like civilizations existed in various corners of the globe, each with its own unique imprint on human heritage. In reflecting on the broad range of Atlantean theories, what becomes clear is that the legend of Atlantis serves as a powerful vessel for exploring humanity's relationship with its distant past, its changing landscapes, and the fragility of even the most advanced societies. The story's adaptability allows it to be applied to many regions and eras, indicating that Atlantis resonates with shared human experiences, rising seas, volcanic eruptions, shifting climate belts, that have repeatedly reshaped civilizations. Such resonance suggests that Atlantis, rather than a singular lost city, may be an archetypal narrative capturing the universal drama of cultural ascent and abrupt decline. The scholarly and popular efforts to pinpoint Atlantis's location encourage a re-evaluation of prehistory, compelling us to look beyond traditionally studied epochs and to pay greater attention to the submerged coastlines, once thriving trade centers, and rich oral traditions that mainstream narratives sometimes overlook. In doing so, we gain valuable insights into how myth can converge with archaeology, geology, anthropology, and climatology, prompting interdisciplinary dialogues that deepen our understanding of the human journey. The legend acts as a catalyst for fresh discoveries and for the integration of new evidence into broader historical frameworks. As we study these varied candidates, Crete's Minoan legacy, Tartessos's vanished wealth, Sundaland's drowned prehistory, the tantalizing maritime ruins of Dwarka or Yonaguni, we find that Atlantis, as an idea, fosters open-minded inquiry. Rather than diminishing the story's mystique, rigorous engagement enhances it, showing that civilizations often stand upon precarious foundations. While Atlantis may never be pinned to one definitive location, the process of searching for it reveals meaningful truths. Civilizations rise and fall, memories endure in myths, and the world beneath the waves still holds mysteries that call out to the historian, scientist, and storyteller alike.